How's it going, guys? Carl here. Today I want to talk about 5 essential data analysis expressions that you should be using or you should be mastering in Power BI. That is count, sum, if, switch, and calculate. Let's go ahead and jump right into this report, show you guys how to get started. All right, so you want to go ahead and have some data that you're looking at, and you want to make sure that all your data is set to the correct data types to go ahead and get started. The first thing we want to start with is a count. So as you can see here, there is no indicator on how many rows there are, but we do want to say, let's just count the columns, right? So we'll go ahead and get started with a new measure here. So two places you can say new measure from. So you can come here and say new measure. And when you hover over it, you'll see that it says write a DAX expression that calculates the value from your data. You can also come over here and hit these 3 dots and go to new measure from there. All right. So let's go ahead and do new measure. And then you'll get a measure here. And for this first one, let's just go ahead and call it count. And then we're just going to go ahead and do count here. And as you can see, as you can begin to type out count, it's going to give you this right here to just let you know that count counts the number in a column, right? So we'll go here and we'll just pick a column. So I'm going to pick the first column, which is the date column. And then I can just close off the parentheses and hit enter. And let's just go ahead and bring in a card so we can look at our count. So I'll come here and add in our count. So this is our count here. So now we have the count. So effectively, this is how you do the count. So it just counts all of the rows in a column. So there are 2,000 rows in this column. If there are any blanks, then it won't count the blanks. And that is essentially how you use count. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at sum. As you can see here, you have sum of cost, sum of sales, sum of quantity. As a default, whenever you're adding values or fields to a table, it's going to do the sums on anything that has this sigma symbol. So as you can see, we have the sum of cost that has a sigma symbol. We have the sum of sales that has a sigma symbol, and we have the sum of quantity, right? So what do you do if you just want the total sales in a DAX calculation, right? So if you look at this, you see the sum of sales total is equal to 38,403 and 95 cents, right? So how do you do sum of total sales? So let's just go ahead and do a new measure. And we'll just say this will be our total sales. And we'll just say sum. And again, as you continue to type this out, it'll say adds all the numbers in a column, right? So we're going to say sum of this sales columns. And then we'll just go ahead and hit enter here. And we're just going to go ahead and just copy over this card. And we'll change the field to the total sales field. And when we add the total sales field, we'll get this. And let's just change a little bit of the formatting so we can see the entire number. So we'll come here to auto value and say none. And then we can just drop this down in size so we can see what we're working with. All right, so now you can see that the total sales measure using the sum of total sales and DAX gives us the same value of the total sales total here. All right, so when you do that DAX, that gives you that total sales, which is basically the sum of the sales. Okay, so one thing that's kind of missing here is, so we have the cost, we have the sales, and we have the quantity. And if you look over here, we also have a profit, but something that we don't have here is the actual price, right? So how much did each one of these cost? So if we wanted to get the price, well, then let's do another new measure. We'll just come here, say new measure, and we'll just call this one unit price. Unit price equals, and what we want to do here is now we just basically want to take the total sales and divide it by the quantity, right? So we want to go ahead and say divide. As you continue to type, as you can see, divide is safe divide function with the ability to handle divide by zero case. All right. So we'll say numerator and denominator. So we're going to say sales, and we can use our total sales here. And then we need a denominator, which is our quantity. And as you can see, nothing happened, because the reason for this is because you actually need a measure for both the numerator and the denominator. Now, how you can do this without a measure for both? Well, if you come here and just simply say sum of sales, close that parentheses, and then do a divide sign, and then do again sum of quantity, close that off. Then if you do that, it'll give you that, and then we can come here and just drop in the unit price. So let's drop in unit price, and let's go ahead and fix this so we don't see too many added decimals at the end of this. So now we see our unit price here. So our unit price for each particular item, as you can see now, is for this 7-Up diet. There was 3. The cost was $4. The sales was $21. The sum quantity was 3, and then the price was basically $7 per unit. So that is our unit price. So that's how you get that. Now, if you wanted to go ahead and do the divide function, well, what you'll need is to add the additional sum of quantity. So to do that, we'll just go ahead and do a new measure. And we'll call this total quantity equals sum. And we'll just say sum of quantity. Go ahead and hit enter. And then we'll call this unit price. We'll just call it unit price divide. Now, if we go ahead and come here and say divide, now we can say our total sales, and then we can say our total quantity. And then we can also add an alternate value or alternate result. This is basically saying that if it's blank, then what do you want that result to say? But if you leave it as is, it'll just say 0. But if you want it to say something else, then you can do that. But we're just going to close the parentheses and hit enter here. And then here where it says unit price, we'll just go ahead and add the divide. And as you can see, once you add the divide, and of course, let's fix these decimals. It gives you the same value. So now you see that there's 2 ways to do that, but in order to do the numerator and the denominator, you have to have both of these already in the measure. If you don't want to have to worry about putting these in the measure and you just use the slash, the forward slash for division, then you just do a sum of each one of the columns. All right, so that is how you do that. So make sure that you master that and get a good understanding of that. All right, so we'll go ahead and let's just go ahead and get rid of this one. And the next thing we want to touch on is the levels. All right, so if statements. So for this, we want to add a new column. All right, so if you wanted to add a new column, you want to come up here to your modeling tab. In your modeling tab, you'll see here it says new column. And as you can see in the explanation, it says write a DAX expression that creates a new column in the selected table and calculates values for each row. So we're going to do that. You can also get to that by just coming over here to these 3 dots and just simply clicking on new column. All right, so we're going to do a new column here, and let's just call this column levels. All right, and in our levels, let's just say if, let's come here, if, let's see, if our sales is greater than or equal to, let's just say 15, and we'll just call this large, right? Double quotes. We'll call this a large level, or we'll call it high level of sales, right? And then for now, we'll just go ahead and close this, right? So we'll do that, and then let's just go ahead and add levels to our table. So if we come here, add levels, now we can see that anything with sales over, let's bring this back up. Boom. So now we'll see that anything with sales that with values greater than or equal to 15, we're going to get the indicator for high, as you can see here. All right. So this is basically indicating high. Now, if we wanted to do medium and low, then we'll just come here, and as you can see, if result is false, we'll just say if our sales, HG sales, is less than or equal to, let's just say 9, then give me low, or else give me medium. All right, so we'll go here. Okay, so as you can see there, now we have our low, and then we have our medium. So basically, if it's less than or equal to 9, I want to say low, and if it's anything in between that, then we'll say medium, right? So this is how you get that. So now we have medium. So if it's above 9, or basically in between 9 and 14, or in between 10 and 14, then you're going to get that medium. All right. So this is not too complicated. There's another way we can do this. All right. And that's by really simply just using the switch function. All right. So we'll just come here. I'll just do a new column, and we'll call this level switch. We'll just say this is level switch. And here we'll just say switch true. Switch true, and then we'll just come here and say, let's just say sales. Say less than or equal to, what did I say, 9. Then we want that result to be small. And so now you can see here it says give me another value, right? So instead of doing if, and I'll just keep nesting those ifs, we can just come here and just give it more values, right? So if I just went here and said, well, if it's less than or equal to 9, and then 14, just come and say okay here. And then here we'll just say, instead of less than, we'll just go ahead and say greater than or equal to. And we'll just call that big, right? Since we basically covering everything here, we'll just go ahead and close this off. Hit enter. And now we have a level switch. So we can come here and add level switch to the end of this table. And you can kind of see what that looks like. Let's go ahead and slide this down a little bit. So now you can see where it says big, small, okay, so on and so forth. So those are the differences if you wanted to do a switch function versus a if statement. So two ways you can do it. If you can do nested ifs, or you can do, in my opinion, what's easier, just a regular switch. All right, so that's how you would do that. All right. So the last thing on my list is the calculate function. One of the most complex things that you can use in DAX is the actual calculate function. So as you can see here in my product category, I want to go ahead and just bring these into a slicer. So I'm just gonna do this product category. So it looks like we have quite a few things here. So that's great. So I'll just make this smaller. So as we can see, we'll have our product category over here to the right. And then we'll go ahead and do a new measure because now we want to start using calculate. So let's just say we wanted the total sales for everything in beef, right? So how we do that? We'll come here and just say total sales. Let's just say total sales for beef, right? So the good thing about calculate it also lets you filter on the table. So if we come here and say calculate, it tells you evaluation expression and context if modified by the filters, which is great. That's what a lot of us want. So we can come here and just use what we've already aggregated, which is our total sales. So we want to know the total sales for beef. So we'll just go ahead and add total sales. Next thing we do is just hit a comma. And as you can see, it's kind of telling you what the next steps are. So you can do your filter here. And for this particular filter, I hate when it does that when I go to the next level. Okay. For the next particular filter, so we want to basically say the product category. So let's just come here and say HG product category. And we're going to just say it's going to be equal to beef, right? So as you can see over here, we have beef as a product category. So we're going to use beef. Then we're going to close the parentheses because this is all going to be wrapped. And then we'll go ahead and hit enter. And then let's just go ahead and grab this card, duplicate duplicate it. And instead of total sales now, let's just go ahead and come here and add total sales for beef, right? So if you come here and say total sales for beef, you get the new value of $709.91. Now, in order to check this, all you need to do is just come here, check product category, and then you'll see that your sum of total sales is $709.91 for beef. And that is how you use the calculate function, basically filtering out data table. All right. Another filter you can do, let's just say filter on your data table. Now the filter can work for any column here or any other fields that you have in your data table. So your date, your product category, your product, customer name, so on and so forth. You can also filter on your levels, right? So if we want to just do a filter on the level, let's go ahead and do one like that. Right, so we created these custom columns. So you can also filter on your custom columns. So let's come here to new measure. And then let's go ahead and say, let's call this total sales. And then let's just call it high, right? So we want to go ahead and calculate. As you can see, it wants the expression. So we can just use the same expression because it's total sales. And what we want to do now is go to levels, right? So we want to use levels. We want our levels to equals high, right? So let's just see what our total sales for high is. So we come here, go ahead and hit enter, and we'll duplicate this one. And instead of total sales for beef, we'll just come here and say total sales for high. Now that we'll see our total sales for high is $30,681.71. How do you check that? Well, we can come here and change this from product category and change it to, let's just change it to levels. And if we change it to levels and just click on high here, we'll see that we have a total sales value of $30,681.76. And that is how you do that. Those are some ways that you can utilize the calculate function. So as a quick review, the most important DAX that you should know is, in no particular order, is the count. So you want to be able to use the count. You also want to be able to use your sum. All right, so sum of sales is what we use here, as well as sum of quantity. You want to be able to use the sums and your division function. So here we use the differences between using the divide function and not having a divide function, or not being able to use the divide function because you haven't identified or aggregated the actual measures that you need to use the divide function. You also want to learn how to use your if statements, as well as nesting your if statements. And once you've mastered that, you want to go ahead and move on to just really simplifying it and using your switch statements, or using the switch function. So switch true, small, okay, and big is what we use today. And last but not least, you want to go ahead and learn how to utilize the calculate function, as well as mastering the calculate function. This way you'll be able to transcend your data analysis into new heights and hopefully get the most out of your data. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. My name is Carl, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.